Hello, everybody. My name is Jacqueline, and welcome to my first BookTube video. I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, and I've been watching BookTube for years at this point. I'm a voracious reader, and it just felt right. Every time I watch a BookTube video, I just think, like, could I do this? Why not just try? And now that is exactly what I'm doing. I didn't ever expect to attempt another YouTube video, but this feels like the right place for me, the right space for me, and the right time for me to be doing this. So why not do like a little meet the booktuber booktube introduction video and see where this crazy journey takes us. So I have a few introductory questions that I've answered and I want to discuss with you. Yes, I have my laptop in my lap, so I'm sorry if you see me looking down. Most of these are just getting to know me, what my love of books looks like, what kind of reader I am. I thought that would be a great way to introduce myself to BookTube, and I have a lot of amazing videos planned for the future. So, this is just the beginning. So, let's get into it. So, the first question I have here is, who are you and why did you start this channel? Though I've already said it a little bit, my name is Jacqueline. I've been a lifelong reader since I was a child. My first memory of reading was with my mother reading picture books that turned into chapter books like Black Beauty and Mr. Popper's Penguins and Around the World in 80 Days, the illustrated series, the illustrated classic series, I should say, to being 8 years old and my third grade teacher, shout out to Miss Mead, handing me Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and reading it at 8 years old and it carrying through my life. This love of being in a new immersive world, or even books that are very grounded into reality, but give you a different perspective on life. Like, I'm either trying to escape life or trying to understand it. That's pretty much how I could explain my love of reading and the books that I pick. It's one or the other. Another little bit about me is that I worked in publishing right after finishing college. I started with an internship in children's production for Penguin Young Readers, which was such a fabulous opportunity and experience. And I met such wonderful people, and I fell even more in love the with children's literature, the book production process. It really got to show me the behind the scenes. And from that internship, that turned into a full time position at Penguin Young Readers. And I worked there for a few years before transitioning over to the larger Penguin Random House International Sales Division, where I worked mainly with Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, and then slowly worked my way into England and the Commonwealth. That was just also an amazing experience. Met such wonderful people, got so much access to amazing literature, authors, author events, booksellers. Became something so near and dear to my heart. I ultimately still went back to school to become a speech language pathologist because that was my ultimate goal as a career, but books have never wavered in terms of their position in my life. So that's just a little bit about me and my book history. Currently, I read still voraciously. Last year, I read about 107 books, a little over 100 books, which is crazy to even say out loud. Now I'm at like just over 50 something books read. That being said, I do have a little bit mix between physical and audio. So I if I'm not reading physically, I am listening on my walks. I'm reading with my ears everywhere I go, and that is also how I consume books. I also totally went off script with all of these questions that I have, which is totally fine because I'd rather just be talking to you guys about books, which is literally all I ever want to do. Let's just talk about books. Another question here is, what genres do you gravitate towards? I think, like I had mentioned earlier, I'm very genre bending, genre fluid, if you will. But it really comes down to the crux of the book. I love escapism, but I also love books that are incredibly heartfelt and heartwarming. I love a good cry. I love when books make me feel immeasurably. Though if I were to put a name as to like what kind of genres I read, I'd probably rank it starting with literary fiction, then historical fiction is historically my favorite genre, or yeah, at least in the last like my in terms of my lifetime, I feel like I've read more historical fiction than anything else. Then we would say so literary fiction. Jackie, answer the question. Literary fiction, historical fiction. I started dabbling in romance a couple years ago when it got really popular, and romantasy. Though with romantasy, I feel like it's either a hit or a total miss, and I like will DNF a romantasy very quickly if it's not really sitting with me. But if I really like the romantasy, it'll lead me down, a 7 book series. If you know what I'm saying. In terms of romance, I really love a romantic subplot, but I feel like especially in the summer, just a good old romance novel is so like clutch. Okay, the next section of questions is about my favorite books of all time. That being said, I will be giving like very short synopses or like um information about the books that I'm choosing to discuss, but I do want to do like a full-fledged like god tier book video where I go more in depth with the books that I'm going to list right now. So just keep that in mind. So if I were to say what my favorite book of all time is, there's kind of like a top three, but time and time again, I've reread this book. I read it in English. I read it in Romanian, funnily enough. Maybe I can get it in French too and try and read it in French. But the History of Love by Nicole Krauss is a literary fiction novel that I read maybe in high school. It's not a high school book. Absolutely. It's not YA. It is a fully adult novel. It's a nice little snack of a book. It's pretty short, but it has stayed in my heart for the last 20 years of my life. And every time I reread it, it's like, yes, it is still my favorite. It really cannot be um, dethroned at this point in my life. The book that like kind of sits like there's 1A and like 1.5B, I guess, or 1 and 1.5 is Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. He is such a phenomenal gothic writer, and I love books about books. They're both actually books about books. And this one is set in Spain in the 1920s. It's so the setting is so moody and you feel like you are there. It is such a gorgeous book. So that is also a 1.5 for me. And I promise to tell you guys more about this in the God tier videos. A book that changed my life. Every book has changed my life in some way. If I were to really pinpoint something that affected me greatly, where I can say, like, my worldview changed, it's going to be such a cliche answer. And I feel like all of the performative men have taken over this book and are using it now to pick up girls, and it pisses me off so much. But The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho is just, it's also a god tier novel for me. The aspect of figuring out who you are, which is something I'm constantly trying to do, and infusing that with travel and almost like a mythical element to it. Also, very magical realism. Traveling from Spain to Morocco is literally my life's dream, and it's because of this book. Ultimately ending in Egypt and coming back to Spain. It's just a true hero's journey where you are the hero. It feels like it feels like you are Santiago and you are uh, in line with him the every step of the way as he's taking this journey. So I would say if I had to choose a book that changed my life, The Alchemist. A book you wish you could read again for the first time? A big secret that's not so secret about me is that last year I really fell in love with Hermione fanfiction, and it is an incredibly controversial topic, and I understand that. but there is something about a Dramini fanfic that really tears my heart apart. And when I read Manacled, that truly it like broke me into little pieces, built me back together again. And in a weird way, I did get to reread that for the first time with Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu. But to reread honestly either of those, Manacled or Alchemized, for the first time again would be just such a wild experience. I don't know if I'd even be up for it, but knowing just what amazing literature, like it's one of the greatest books that I've ever read. I love them as an author. I love what they do with their words. It's just there's no other way to put it. Their characters are unreal in their depth and morally greatness. So, if I were to say a book that I would like to reread again for the first time, uh, Manacled or Alchemized would be by Sen Lin Yu. That's my answer. Now, in terms of books that I've recently read that I've fallen in love with, because those are like my OGs, but to give you an idea of what kind of books I read on a regular basis, I would say the best book that I've read so far this year is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I'm obsessed with it. Truly, truly obsessed with that book. Again, it's one of those books where it is very much grounded in reality. It is about a young woman who's in her 30s, which is great. I love when a protagonist is somewhat age appropriate to me. She's in her 30s working as a waitress, but ultimately she wants to become a writer and she has writer's block. And as someone who is trying to also dip my toes into writing, I just felt like I understood her. And every time life got her down, I got it. I didn't feel like she was experiencing this by herself. I was right there with her, which again, like that's just my jam. I love feeling this really intense connection with my characters. In this book, Lily King really just made you feel like you were figuring shit out with your girl. And I cried at the end. So, literally perfect. 10 out of 10 no notes kind of book. My biggest surprise of the year is a book called A Woman Is No Man. This book is mainly set in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, partially set in Palestine, going from the 1980s to the early 2000s. And it follows these two women, a mother and a daughter, which I think is just such a beautiful experience to view their inner worlds as two women who have such a complicated relationship with each other, and you follow their experiences as Palestinian women in the US and the expectations put on them and the family dynamics that they have to weave through and figure out. Thematically, this book really just it surprised me so much in how rich it was watching these two women balance, or not actually, the familiar expectations of them as well as their own inner expectations of themselves and what they wanted out of life. Just absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous book. Probably one of the most beautiful books I've ever read in my life. My most emotional read of the year. Okay, obviously, like I I have mentioned time and time again that I love a good emotional book. Probably the one that I would say made me cry the hardest was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins. Probably the one that made me cry the hardest is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Atmosphere takes place in the 1980s, during a time where female astronauts are sort of finding their place and trying to be taken seriously. And these two women who come from very different backgrounds in terms of their careers and knowledge both end up becoming astronauts. And it's their love story, and it is so much more than that. There is a, a family dynamic that we're dealing with. There is them, their journey in their career, and them being accepted as gay women in the 1980s in career settings that are very public. The ending got me so, so hard. If you love Taylor Jenkins Reid, but you're like, I don't know if space is my jam, which, first of all, what do you mean? What do you mean? It was genuinely so beautiful, and I think that's what Taylor Jenkins Reid does so well is she takes a setting, maybe a topic that you're not necessarily privy to, you may not know very much about it, and she just makes you fall in love with both that topic, so in this case space, and also the people that she is really focused in on during the novel, right? Like the main characters just become your family and you are rooting for them the whole time. All right, so we're going to end this with some rapid fire getting to know you questions. Okay, coffee or tea while reading? I am a huge coffee girl. I drink coffee every single day. Coffee, coffee, coffee. But there is nothing like a winter read with tea. Oh, like at the end of the night, a chamomile tea, little honey, little lemon, little toast on the side. Oh, nothing like it. This is not rapid fire. I need to learn what rapid fire means. Bookmark or dog ear? Oh, girl. Anything. I'm a pen, receipt, gum wrapper, whatever kind of girl. I don't dog ear as much as I used to. Honestly, I don't dog ear at all anymore, I guess. But there was a time. There was a time. Morning reader or night reader? Morning reader or night reader? I would say both. I read all the time. I read in the morning. I read my physical book in the morning. I'm listening to my audiobook on my way to the train. I am listening to my audiobook on the way to work. I am reading in the train. I read before bed. It's all day every day. It doesn't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Bookstore or library? I mean, can you read this? Is this upside down? Let's turn it this way. I obviously love buying books, but there's nothing like a good library. One popular book opinion that might be controversial. We could do a whole video on this, but the concept of young people and anti-intellectualism and BookTube feeding into anti-intellectualism just really gets my gears going, and I can really talk about it for a very lengthy period of time, which maybe I will one day. Your current read? I am currently reading The Poet Empress by Shen Tao. Loving it so far. Hopefully I will be able to finish it soon and give you guys a review. The next book on your TBR, I really want to get to Heart the Lover by Lily King, especially after finishing Writers and Friends, Writers and Lovers, Writers and Friends, Writers and Lovers. So that's me. Thank you for watching this video. It means literally the world to me. Like, I have been wanting to do this for so long. I'm genuinely so obsessed with books. I am so obsessed with BookTube. I'm watching it all day long sometimes at home. I just have it on in the background, or sometimes I am like super honed in. I just love this space and I want to be a part of it so, 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 so badly. So if you liked anything you saw, if you're interested in more from me, if you want to hear my takes on books, if you want to develop a community with me where we talk about our favorite books, books that we don't love, books that changed us, books that affected us. If you want to be a part of this with me, please like this video, please subscribe, and please pray that I figure editing out, because that is what is ultimately keeping me from making more videos. If I figured this out, it's over. It's over for all of us, guys. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I'm just mumbling, bumbling. A mumbling, bumbling fool. But I hope that you will mumble bumble with me along this journey to BookTubedom. BookTubedom. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.